So it seems like we are about to start here. MagicWind on your top screen, SleepShaman on your bottom. It seems like we have a Paladin mirror matchup on our hands for game 1. Turn 1 goes to MagicWind. SleepShaman gets to start out with an additional card and the coin. So mulligans have been made. I can't really see what cards both players are holding, but SleepShaman is starting off with a Zombie Chow for his turn 1 play and draws into a big game Hunter. Harrison Jones being the card that MagicWind has drawn. So I would expect MagicWind to play out that Knife Juggler right now, as it's pretty much the only card he can play right now. Or he might just save it up until he has 5 mana and combine it with that Muster for Battle, but he needs something to get rid of that Zombie Chow, because that Zombie Chow is so cost efficient. Now Muster for Battle being drawn by SleepShaman, who has 2 copies of the card in his hand right now. Fortunately, no Quartermaster in his hand to buff his Silver Hand recruits, so is just going to trade off that Zombie Chow for Knife Juggler as expected. And both players now pretty much even Stevens, but SleepShaman can play his coin into a Muster for Battle, but instead is going to just summon his Silver Hand recruit, maybe waiting until he can play something more. So that coin is only going to be useful till turn 5 with the cards in his hand right now. Turn now being passed over to MagicWind, who has a Muster for Battle available, is going to play that one and summon his Silver Hand recruits. Lights Justice to remove 1 card on the field. So pretty much self-explanatory what both of these players are doing at this point. Now with 3 mana, SleepShaman can reply with his own Muster for Battle, which he will do, and trade off 1 of durability for 1 Silver Hand recruit. So field flooded with recruits, and so now it's a little bit of a race who gets to his Quartermaster first, or who gets to draw his Consecrate first. So looking at MagicWind's hand right now, probably is going to play his Pilot the Shredder, or he could play the Cult Master. If he plays Cult Master, then he can draw a lot of cards by just sacrificing those Silver Hand recruits. So he will be generating card advantage with that one. So all Silver Hand recruits now wiped off the field, but SleepShaman does have a second Muster for Battle available, though I would not expect him to play it right now, considering that he still has 3 stacks of that Lights Justice on his weapon. So the thing is, SleepShaman can't really summon a Silver Hand recruit and leave it at that. He has to summon something additional to that, because if he only summons that 1 Silver Hand recruit, then MagicWind, excuse me, forgot his name for a second there, but MagicWind only has to hit it with Lights Justice then. So SleepShaman playing Muster for Battle now, it's not that efficient right now because he loses the durability off his weapon. It does refresh it, but it's pretty much the only play he could realistically make at that point and not sacrifice any board position he has right now. Now Consecration is up for MagicWind, so he can use that to clear the board instantly. I think he could play his own Muster for Battle in response, but doesn't do that. Instead goes for the aggressive play here. I still feel that Consecration might be a good choice for MagicWind, and does decide to do that. So now MagicWind sitting at 19 hit points. Looking at the cards, still card advantage for MagicWind because he has drawn a lot of cards with that Cult Master passive. SleepShaman sitting in on 6 cards, but coin not included, so technically he's sitting at 6 mana right now. Loafeb can be a play he can make right now. I honestly would drop the Pilot Shredder, but Seems like Sleep Shaman is thinking about healing himself up with that anti-heal bot. So seems like Sleep Shaman is afraid of spells landing on him, so is gonna play that low flip, gonna hinder MagicWind's progress. So no muster for battle for him. Pretty much all the spells in his hand disabled. So with 6 mana, I feel that one of the best plays he could make is Pilot the Shredder and then summon a Silver Hand Recruit, because it will give you 2 minions. Sylvana is not that useful because it is a 5/5, and if Sleep Shaman decides to run his low flip into it, then he would have summoned Sylvanas for nothing. Instead, is gonna play Harrison Jones and draw 3 cards for it. Actually, didn't see that option. I think I think MagicWind only realized that a little bit late as well. His hand is a little bit full right now, sitting at 9 cards, so it has to pass turn, but it will leave him with a lot of options next turn as well. Sleep Shaman is using the Alder Peacekeeper and running into it with the low FF. His low FF now still quite healthy. He's thinking about coining, and that would give him the 4 for the Piloted Shredder. So now Sleep Shaman in the board advantage right now, but MagicWind still has Consecrate Equality available for him, so if needed to, he could wipe out the board completely. The only downside to it is that Sleep Shaman does have that Piloted Shredder available, but I think I saw an Ironbeak Owl somewhere in there, so I think Consecrate Equality and then Ironbeak Owl would cost 8 mana, which he is lacking right now, as he is sitting on 7 at this point. But he has to do something at the very least. One thing he could do is he could play Knife Juggler and then Equality and then muster for battle. I think he has enough mana to do that. And then, but instead is going to go for the Alder Peacekeeper play and the Piloted Shredder. So not going to summon any Silver Hand recruits on the board just yet. True Silver Champion now being drawn by Sleep Shaman. So now Sleep Shaman can make some interesting trades. Alder Peacekeeper for Piloted Shredder. And that is an Auto Barber that MagicWind got in return. He could sacrifice his Piloted Shredder to destroy MagicWind's Alder Peacekeeper, or he could just run into it with True Silver Champion and only lose 1 health, because it will heal for 2. So, and with that shielded mini bot, it would set up a more defensive board as well. But he is still sitting at 13 health, which is a little bit risky. Quartermaster now being drawn, and MagicWind does have the 8 mana available for his Muster for Battle Quartermaster combo. So Knife Juggler are going to be the card of choice here. And Sylvana's Windrunner, so MagicWind not really playing as I expected him to play. I would have really expected him to play Knife Juggler in combination with Muster for Battle, or perhaps the Quartermaster to put out some pressure, but probably expects the MC Tech on Sleep Shaman's in Sleep Shaman's hand, or maybe even a board clear, because no consecrations, no equalities were used from both players, and now Sleep Shaman is thinking what he has to do, how much damage he can do. Equality is in his hand though. So with 7 mana, he can do an equality. He can use the equality in combination with that heal bot to buff himself back up to a respectable amount. Anti-heal bot is going to be summoned, buffing him back up to 16, and SleepShaman now with a pretty established board here. But then again, SleepShaman does not know that MagicWind has Equality Consecration in hand. Also has a Sludge Belcher in hand, so he can bolster his defenses up some more. But for now, it seems like SleepShaman is winning, and I don't really see a good combination for MagicWind unless he decides to play a Consecration Equality. And there you have it, Consecration Equality is coming out. Everything wiped out on the field of SleepShaman. Now, who is now sitting at 14 health, reinforces as well for a Silver Hand Recruit. And now SleepShaman in a lot of trouble because his MC Tech passive will not proc. His Big Game Hunter doesn't have a target, and his Piloted Shredder being pretty much realistically the only card he can play. And I do have to think that it has something to do with MagicWind just playing so well with that Cult Master, gaining a lot of advantage from that one. It just gave him so much momentum in this game as well. At one point having 9 cards in his hand, and with 9 cards in his hand, like if you have 9 cards versus 3, you just simply have more options than your opponent unless the cards you have in your hand are absolutely worthless. True Silver Champion being equipped, and MagicWind seems like he is going for game here. SleepShaman drawing into a Sludge Belcher as his last hope. Equality Sludge Belcher might be something for him to work on, but it's gonna play the Equality first, ramming the Piloted Shredder, and get some Murloc for it so he can get rid of that Taunter as well. And the Sludge Belcher coming out, but it doesn't even matter. MagicWind has the answer in his hand, and that is an Ironbeak Owl that has been sitting there perched in his hand for so long. Ironbeak Owl to negate the taunt and the Death Rattle effect of that Sludge Belcher, and then attacking a Sylvan's Windrunner or the True Silver Champion. Depends how flashy you want to do it. Should be enough for a game. So, welcome to game 2 between MagicWind and SleepShaman. MagicWind deciding to mulligan his entire hand. SleepShaman gonna go ahead and play Druid, but also doesn't get the best of hands here. Dr. Boom, Force of Nature, Innervate. Gets Keeper of the Grove for his first draw, but all he has to do is transform for the next couple of turns and hope he draws something useful. MagicWind also not with the best of hands here. No muster for battle or anything like that. And SleepShaman finally getting something useful, something that he can use for turn free play. Innervate into Druid of the Claw, or he could just innervate for Keeper of the Grove if he really wanted to, but that would be kind of revealing your hand, saying I don't have anything useful. MagicWind gonna go ahead and play a Silver Hand Recruit. Not a lot of options here, but now SleepShaman can establish his board a little bit by playing that Innervate into the Druid of the Claw, but it's not gonna do that, and MagicWind might have a small inkling that SleepShaman doesn't have really the best of cards in his hand for the early game because of the way he is playing. And MagicWind might just be establishing his board with that one. Piloted Shredder going to be dropped, but next turn, SleepShaman can't play that Keeper of the Grove, or the one he just drew, to silence that Piloted Shredder, and that will, of course, deny MagicWind the free minion he's getting. Now back to MagicWind, who's sitting on a silenced piloted Shredder and on 4 mana, but has a second piloted Shredder, but it's not going to be too happy when SleepShaman is more than likely going to play his second Keeper of the Grove in response. That would of course mean that both silences would be used, so I don't know if MagicWind plays Tyrian Forging or any high value cards like that, but does mean that MagicWind has to worry a little bit less about his other minions being silenced if SleepShaman, excuse me, plays that second Keeper of the Grove to silence his piloted Shredder. MagicWind actually taking some time to see what he is doing with his attack of his piloted Shredder. Is going to go for the Keeper of the Grove. And Swipe is available for SleepShaman, but I don't think he is going to use that. Druid of a Claw being hovered over, so it seems like he is going to give MagicWind at least one minion drop. Innervates to Transform, takes a whole bunch of damage from that one, but had 2 armor stacked up, so only sitting at 28 right now. So theoretically only took 2 damage. Alder Peacekeeper and Knife Juggler being played. There, that Druid of Claw sitting at 1 health right now, as MagicWind was forced to attack into that one. Now, back to SleepShaman, who is sitting on a Swipe, but is going to go for Force of Nature instead to try and clear out the board as much as possible. And attacking into the Pilot Shredder second, and gets us another Knife Juggler for it. So now he has to make the choice. Is he going to go for the Peacekeeper or for the Juggler? And obviously, Juggler would be the best choice, as it would do so much more, and it has so much more pressure on the board as well. MagicWind not hesitating to dropping that Sylvanas Windrunner, and SleepShaman again with a second Force of Nature now. I'm kind of wondering how he's going to play this one out. He can't play Dr. Boom, because that would mean that Sylvanas Windrunner would just literally run into that one. Swipe and then transforming, probably the best choice for him. Taking a lot of damage yet again, but at least getting rid of that threat. But now MagicWind has another clear shot at SleepShaman, and it has that Quartermaster as well, but no Muster for Battle to combine it yet. So probably going to play that Harrison Jones, as it is the strongest minion to play right now in MagicWind's hand, and reinforces to establish his board yet again. And SleepShaman now at 21 health draws into another Swipe, and that will be exactly enough to clear everything off the field. The crowd with quite the response there after that Swipe was being drawn. Seems like we have some issues with the Chinese feed here, so we're going to be right back and fix that as soon as possible. Okay, hi there, sorry about that. We had some issues with the Chinese feed, so we have fixed it right now. So for those of you who missed that, I did manage to catch some glimpses at one point. MagicWind was able to fill out the board with with Silverhand recruits and buffed it up with a Quartermaster and eventually won the game. So now SleepShaman is 2-0 behind and has to win the next game with Warlock. So let's take a quick look what is happening right here. It seems like MagicWind does have an overwhelming board presence right here. Nothing that MagicWind really has to clear the board. Sneasel Shredder can't be played. Harrison Jones can't be played. So does seem like he is suffering a whole bunch. TC can be played to steal a minion away. Now he has to hope that he gets to Knife Juggler to hit into one of the imps, and does manage to do that, but still 7 damage on the board for SleepShaman, and another implosion being drawn by him. Also has a Sea Giant Direwolf Alpha potentially being a play as well. So Direwolf Alpha, of course, would be very helpful to get that Nerubian egg to give it an attack value, and he would be able to ram it into one of those imps, and then would not spawn a Nerubian just yet if he would do that. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he actually does attack that one into the TC Mind Control or into the Knife Juggler, but he's definitely thinking about using that Direwolf Alpha right there. But instead is going to play it a little bit differently. Abusive Sergeant now coming out and bust that imp to 4-1. Sea Giant also being dropped, and I still don't see anything in MagicWind's hands to counteract this. It only has 5 mana. Harrison Jones might be the only card that he can play right now, but let's see what card he has right now. A True Silver Champion, but he is sitting at 14 health right now. So True Silver Champion being pretty much the only option he has right now. Or he could Reinforce and then Defender of Argus, but MagicWind, knowing that he can't win this. So welcome back. Sorry, it seems like we also had some sound issues. Those are resolved as well, if I'm not mistaken. So SleepShaman with the turn 1 play brings out a Flame Imp and a Clockwork Gnome. Mad Scientist now being dropped by MagicWind. So he's playing Hunter. Which class does he have left still after this one? Has one more class after this one. So SleepShaman has to win 3 games in a row with Warlock. A lot of players playing Warlock as their last class, so definitely possible here. If you can get your board going fast, if you can get your board on the field and it's overwhelming and your opponent doesn't have anything against it, then it's so powerful. So let's see how this Zulok deck is going to work out for SleepShaman. He's thinking about attacking into that Mad Scientist. Of course, it would give MagicWind a secret, and if that secret is Explosive Trap, then that, of course, will hinder SleepShaman in his tracks quite a bit, because most of the minions on his in his hand and on the field are 2 health or less. So if that secret ends up to be an Explosive Trap, then that might be quite detrimental for SleepShaman. So let's take a quick look at what MagicWind has. Animal Companion, Kill Command, and Eaglehorn Bow. I'm not quite sure what secret he has stacked there, but one thing that he could probably do is just play that Animal Companion. Hope he gets a Misha that one, but instead is going to go for the Eaglehorn Bow and attack into that Flame Imp. Takes a little bit of damage from that one, but it will at least deplete the resources that SleepShaman has on the field. Now double Direwolf Alpha in his hand, Abusive Sergeant. Nothing really that will benefit SleepShaman too much right here. He could just play Direwolf Alpha and play that Horn to taunt that Nerubian egg to ensure he will get that 4/4 Nerubian, unless it is of course silenced. And it seems like that trap was a freezing trap, so he will get that Nerubian Egg back into his hand. Direwolf Alpha now being played to buff that Abusive Sergeant back to free 1. I can't really see what the next card in MagicWind's hand is. Is an Undertaker. Only Death Rattle minion in his hand being a Savannah Highmane, though, so not too beneficial. Of course, if MagicWind keeps attacking into those minions, he will suffer a lot of damage from just repeated attacks, and at one point, SleepShaman can just become explosive on the field. But, oh, there is the Misha, though, getting the minion he wanted from that animal companion. Pretty happy about that, I imagine, but the explosion is ready. And will it be enough, though? 2 damage is all that's needed, and this 4 damage! And getting 4 M's, and MagicWind is shaking his head in disbelief, saying this is not supposed to happen. And SleepShaman pretty damn happy about those 4 imps on the field right now. Web Spinner being dropped by MagicWind in response, and he can play that kill command if he wants to, but I would highly doubt that he would. He can sacrifice the last durability of his Eaglehorn bow because he does have another one in hand, but he would be down in card advantage then as far as the hand goes, because it is more information you give your opponent saying that one of the cards in my hand is an Eaglehorn bow. That's why I don't mind attacking with the one I have right now. Now SleepShaman can play that Nerubian Egg, and if he really wanted to, he could just play Power Overwhelming on it, but I think he would prefer to do that next turn. So 4 mana Nerubian Egg is being dropped. Web Spinner will fall, and which minion does he... Which beast does he get for? He gets a chicken for it, and again, MagicWind shaking his head. The luck is not on his side today. This is almost as bad as in the previous round, where Xingye used an unstable portal and got a wisp out of it. So Savannah Highmane being the card of choice for MagicWind. And another implosion being drawn by SleepShaman. And Direwolf Alpha and Power Overwhelming should be enough to take care of that Savannah Highmane, but instead decides to bypass that completely because SleepShaman knows he has to get rid of that Nerubian Egg first, and that will spawn that 4/4 Nerubian. And SleepShaman is just sitting on such a good position right here, and MagicWind is thinking, what can I do to save myself out of this situation? I need to get rid of that Nerubian Egg, but that will of course pop that 4/4 Nerubian. And I will take damage regardless if I attack into anything. And is it worth to use my kill command to get rid of that? Honestly, if I were MagicWind, I would probably just attack into the Nerubian Egg with my weapon, use the kill command to get rid of the 4/4 Nerubian, and then attack into, I guess, the Knife Juggler with Savannah Highmane. No, I'm not too sure if that is indeed the best play. Kill command being used fairly early on that Knife Juggler, though, will fall. Nerubian spawning 5/4 and a Piloted Shredder being dropped as well. And I think that SleepShaman might have lethal here with that Doomguard in his hand. Drops it, discards the 2 cards in his hand, attacks, and SleepShaman... Oh. So, would you look at that? MagicWind with pretty much 2 of the few starting cards you would want to see for Druid. Innervate into Wildgrowth. would probably be a lot happier if he saw a Chillwind Yeti in there somewhere. I remember that being the old school best Druid opening play, where you would coin Innervate into a turn 1 Yeti. But anyways, mulligans are made, and is SleepShaman gonna come back and win 3 games in a row versus MagicWind to take the game and move on towards the semifinals? Or is MagicWind gonna exact vengeance and win the game and move on and deny SleepShaman that glorious comeback? MagicWind deciding to coin and Wrath, so did expend 2 cards to get rid of that, but still has 1 card up on SleepShaman here. So SleepShaman, what he can do right now, Direwolf Alpha, or he could just play the Voidwalker, but wouldn't be as mana efficient. So it's also not going to decide to tap. So now turn 2, Wildgrowth being pretty much the only play that he can make right here. Next turn that would buff him up to 4 mana, and hopefully for him, MagicWind will draw something useful that he can play with that 4 mana, or else he has to innervate into a Sludge Belcher, and that would be quite detrimental for his mana efficiency at the very least. Now back to SleepShaman. Gonna go ahead and play Haunted Creeper and the Voidwalker, just setting up his board. Keeper of the Grove now being pulled by MagicWind is gonna silence that, or destroy that Direwolf Alpha, excuse me. Seemed like for a second there he was going to use the silence, but didn't see that properly. So another Direwolf Alpha being pulled by SleepShaman. And I'm kind of wondering whether he wants to use that Direwolf Alpha right now and get rid of that Keeper of the Grove. Of course, it would be enough of a buff to get rid of both, to get rid of that Keeper of the Grove, but he would sacrifice both of his minions for that. He would get 2 spiders in return, so minion wise he would be losing this. He wouldn't be losing anything, but stat wise he would. And you have to consider, especially that MagicWind can play the Sludge Belcher next turn. Sludge Belcher just being a very, very big roadblock against these low value minions. Then again, MagicWind does have the power overwhelming in his hands, so he can do something with that one, but he's taking his time thinking about it, whether he wants to attack yes or no, counting how much damage he will do, and actually decides to go directly for MagicWind, instead bypassing the Keeper of the Grove entirely. And oh, a swipe being drawn. I'm not too sure why the crowd went wild over that, because that swipe is not going to be enough to clear out the entire field. It's only going to clear out 1 minion and do a little bit of damage to the rest. MagicWind does not have any spell damage amplification right there. If he did, then that would have been a lot better, but so essentially MagicWind does have 7 mana available if he uses that Innervate. Probably the best play for him right now is to play that Sludge Belcher and just kind of put a roadblock into whatever or whatever Sleep Shaman wants to do right now. Of course, a Sludge Belcher wouldn't be living for too long, but Sleep Shaman would have to sacrifice a lot of resources for that one. So that is going to be the Sludge Belcher. And deciding not to attack into the Void Walker. So now Sleep Shaman, taking his time, has both a Power Overwhelming and a Harvest Golem. Probably if I were Sleep Shaman at this point, I would probably just first tap, see what I draw. But not drawing anything useful, probably use the Power Overwhelming onto my Haunted Creeper, because it will die next turn anyway. And it would give me 2 more spiders to work with, so that would probably be my personal play here. Sleep Shaman definitely thinking about using that Power Overwhelming to get rid of that Sludge Belcher, but taking his time thinking about how much damage he needs to do here. So it does decide to go for that play, sacrifices his Spectral Spider for it. Time is starting to run out though. Void Walker to get rid of the last Taunter. Knife Juggler gonna lodge his knife into MagicWind, and that is enough for Sleep Shaman to go onto the Aggressive Fear. Double knife, and 1 landing into MagicWind, 1 landing into the Keeper of the Grove, and a Savage Roar now being pulled. Swipe would do a whole bunch for MagicWind right here. Wouldn't get at least rid of 4 of the minions, or 3 of the minions on Sleep Shaman's field. 4 if he would actually transform. And he's thinking about using that swipe. Realistically, it's the only option he can make though. A Savage Roar in hand is not going to help him too much at this point. Neither is a Wild Growth. Big Game Hunter, I don't think that Sleep Shaman actually even plays any minions that have 7 or more attack. Maybe Jiraxis, but technically Big Game Hunter can't do anything against that. So Swipe being used to clear the board as much as possible. And sitting at 2 mana, a Transform and an attack from the Keeper of the Grove should be enough to clear out the field. Mostly a Harvest Golem probably going to be the last minion standing. And a Flame Imp now for that one, and a Sea Giant, so he does play those high value minions. Haven't seen that the previous couple of games. So now back to MagicWind, who doesn't really have too much to play right now. So one thing he could do is he could Inner Fate, Savage Roar, and Force of Nature, but decides to go for the Big Game Hunter play just to get something out on the field. And I don't feel that Sleep Shaman cares too much about that, because he has the Sea Giant in his hand. Can't play it just yet. Doomguard being pulled, but Sleep Shaman probably does not want to play that Doomguard now unless he wants to discard a whole bunch. And now it is indeed a risky play depending on what Sleep Shaman wants to do, because let me do the quick math right here. Because Savage Roar plus the Force of Nature would be at least 14 damage. And if that Big Game Hunter is allowed to live, then that would be even more. But it's not allowed to live. Goes for the Doomguard play here. Drops his Sea Giant. And 9 health remaining on MagicWind. Draws into a Big Game Hunter, but not too useful yet again. And I feel that MagicWind might be forced to play a Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. Big Game Hunter being dropped. And MagicWind just going to transform probably past turn here. Attacking into Sleep Shaman. Piloted Shredder coming out, and here is the risk. Here is the risk. If SleepShaman attacks that big game hunter, then MagicWind has to do a whole bunch more. He just wants to keep one minion alive, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be it. Mind control is also not going to be enough. And MagicWind is thinking, what do I need to do to get out of this one? It seems like Savage Roar plus Force of Nature is his only way out at this point. Of course, that Nerubian Egg would still be standing. Because I would assume that he would not attack into the Nerubian Egg, but SleepShaman now being handless. No cards in hand. Just relies on his top deck. And MagicWind does have the possibility to clear the board out mostly, depending on what that Piloted Shredder drops. If it drops a 4 health minion, that will be a whole bunch. He plays the mind control tech. I'm not too sure why, actually. And there you have it. The top deck is real and gets the Divine Shield and the taunt on the Doomguard. And the Nerubian Egg is so happy about that.